Okay, so this is the quality of video you get out of the selfie camera of the Redmi 10. When you just woke up in the morning, you haven't bathed, you haven't eaten, and you want to record a YouTube video. Now, this phone sells for 975 cedis, and at that price point, you get 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. But is this phone any good? Well, we are going to look at all these and more coming up next.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
You can also buy this phone in either 4 gigs or 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs or 128 gigs of storage. When you open the box, you get the envelope which contains the SIM kit, ejection pin, a clear plastic case, and some manuals and warranty nobody reads any longer. This phone comes in 2 storage variants and 2 RAM variants. You get either 64 or 128 gigs of storage and 4 or 6 gigs of RAM. When you buy this phone, 21 gigs of storage is already used. So I would advise you, if you want to buy this phone, to buy the 128 gig storage variant. Now, there's something about the storage type of the Redmi 10 which I've not seen any reviewer talking about, which is the fact that the storage type or format that Redmi or Xiaomi is using in this device is eMMC storage. Now, eMMC storage is a kind of slow, outdated storage, right? Most phones nowadays use UFS. So you see something like UFS 2.1, UFS 2.2, UFS 3.1. That's the new standard, right? It's like SSD cards versus the traditional hard disk that people have in their, in their laptops and computers. SSDs are way faster read and write speeds and all that, whilst the traditional hard disks have slower read and write speeds. So it's the same thing with the UFS versus the eMMC, and the Redmi 10 uses eMMC storage. So if you're going to buy this phone, know that with time it's going to get very slow, especially as you install a lot of apps on it. It has relatively bigger bezels all around, at least if you're comparing it to the Poco X3 NFC, and it's slightly smaller than the Poco as well. In terms of design, the back of the phone is made of a very reflective plastic body which reflects light and gives it a very colorful vibe. As a result, this phone can get very dusty and it also catches a lot of fingerprints, so use the included case. Now, at the back of the phone, the camera bump looks very similar to the camera bump of the Redmi Note 10 Pro, which I've already reviewed on this channel. I'm going to leave a link in the description, but we'll talk more about the cameras later. At the bottom, you get a USB-C port, a microphone, and a bottom speaker. I was confused for a minute. I was thinking this phone does not come with a headphone port, but it does. It's right there at the top. At the top, you also have the second speaker, a microphone, and one of the features I love most about Xiaomi devices, an IR blaster. With this IR blaster, you don't need to keep so many remotes at home. You get a fingerprint sensor embedded in the power button and volume control keys on the right side of the phone. On the left, you get a SIM tray which can take 2 SIMs and a dedicated slot for expandable storage. The display is an LCD display, full HD. At the top, you get a whole point selfie camera. You get Gorilla Glass 3 protection on the glass as well, which is impressive for such a cheap phone. However, the colors on the display look kind of washed out. It doesn't look like a 1080 display at all. It looks something like a 720 display, though they say it's a 1080p display, and the colors look very funny. Like, it has this very sharp look. It's weird. You have to see it to know it, but it might bother some. Others might not care, especially considering the price of the device is about just $130. A lot of people might tend to overlook it, but for me, it really bothered me. The Redmi 10 runs Android 11 out of the box and MIUI 12.5, which you can update immediately you connect to the internet to the latest version. Now, earlier on, I mentioned that this phone comes with 21 gigs of storage already used. Now, out of that 21 gigs, only 14 gigs is occupied by the operating system. So the rest of the 7 gigs is occupied by bloatware, apps you may never ever use. Good thing is you can uninstall some, but it's very annoying to be seeing all these games, all these apps already installed before you even get to put your own apps on the device. The fingerprint sensor works well and is pretty accurate at unlocking the device. You can enjoy watching all your TikTok videos and your Twitter challenge videos that I know you are watching on the Redmi 10. So who is this phone really targeted at, considering that Xiaomi has released about 100 different phone models? I exaggerate, but yeah, a lot of phone models this year. Who is the target market, right? All right, so I could think of, like, if somebody just completed SHS, university, like you have a junior brother or sister who this is their first time getting a device, then a budget device like this is pretty good. It has a very big battery, it has lots of storage, enough RAM, a 1080p display. It can play most games, can do, you know, the social media stuff that people like to do really well. So for people in that age bracket, works well. If you own a business and you want to buy phones for like your sales attendants or your agents or whatever, this is also a very good phone, right? Because it has a plastic back, and so it's going to be more durable if it falls down and things like that. And if you're someone who doesn't use a lot of apps, like you just use maybe 1, 2, or 3 apps during the day, then this phone is fine, considering that it doesn't really have fast storage or the fastest storage available, right? So Uber drivers typically just have the Google Maps, maybe their Uber app or the Bolt app or whatever, and calls. That's all that is. So for people like that, this is going to be a very great phone. Can this phone play games? Yes, you can play your Candy Crush and millions of other games on the Google Play Store. I don't know why tech reviewers always want to stress about Genshin Impact and Call of Duty Mobile and PUBG and all. Look, not everybody plays these games, right? You tell me in the comments, which games do you play often on your phone? Which games do you have? Candy Crush and some other games, right? That's what a lot of people have. So you can play over 1 million games on the Google Play Store with this device. The Redmi 10 is powered by the Helio G88 processor, which is a 12 nanometer processor, which feels responsive if you don't have a lot of apps on your phone. But as you install a lot of apps on your phone, you'll begin to notice considerable lag when using the phone. Now, let's talk about the cameras. At the back of the device, you get 4 lenses. You get a main 50 megapixel, which is a wide shooter, but the 50 megapixels is not enabled by default, right? It's a special mode when you are shooting photos, right? And it gives you more high definition images so that you can zoom in and still get a better quality. But most people just use it regularly without the 50 megapixel option. Then you have an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens, and then you have a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera and a 2 megapixel macro lens. So we are going to see the performance of the main 50 megapixel lens here. Okay, so this is the video quality you get from the main 50 megapixel lens. Now it's not shooting at 50 megapixel, that's not enabled by default, but this is the video quality you get. Let me know in the comments below, is it good? And this is the performance of the ultra wide lens. Okay, so this is using the ultra wide camera to film, and I don't know that kind of quality it looks like right now, but I'm going to see once I'm editing. Let me know your thoughts. This is using the ultra wide camera at the back of the phone to shoot, right? It's an 8 megapixel ultra wide. And this is me attempting to do something with the 2 megapixel macro lens. On the front end of things, you get the selfie camera, which is an 8 megapixel shooter. And when recording videos with a selfie camera, I noticed that it tends to have this sort of greenish tint. I don't know if it's my color, and it's trying to make some skin tones adjustments or something, but there's this greenish tint. So is this phone good if you want to use it like for vlogs and things like that? Well, low budget, yes you can, but I mean, you can see the overexposure in the background. Like even if I try to bring the exposure down, then this is how it looks, which is actually pretty okay. So it's not very powerful, right? And in terms of video recording, you can record videos in 1080p 30 frames per second max. The lenses on this camera don't have any form of optical image stabilization or even electronic image stabilization. So if you want to purchase this phone for like vlogging, right, you want to create content, it would be good to get like a gimbal, right, to make your footage very smooth. So I attempted shooting some videos, right, using the main lens, ultra wide, and then the telephoto, and this is the result, right? This is how it looks like. This the main lens, this is the ultra wide, and this is the telephoto, right? It tends to do a bit of overexposure, right? But you can lock it down, adjust a few settings, and it's okay. I mean, it's okay for the price, right? You don't expect iPhone quality at this price level. I feel like giving this phone away. What do you think? I feel like doing a giveaway with the Redmi 10. Are you up for it? Your mind day? If your mind day, well, if we can hit like maybe 5,000 subscribers before the end of December, I would give this to one of my lucky loyal subscribers, right? So let me know in the comments if I should give this phone away. Let me know which other phone you would want me to compare it with. Let me know which phone you prefer in this price bracket of $130 to $150. And if you're new to my channel, I do mobile phone reviews, mobile app reviews, and I bring to you affordable gadget reviews to help you make an informed decision when you're making your next purchase. So if you like that kind of content, please click on the subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you do not miss any episode. Thanks, Bibre.